Across the country, United Health Group is working with local partners to build healthier communities every day. That includes helping partners like the Good Acre provide 45,000 meals and lower A1C in the Twin Cities, and helping Hello Family doulas deliver 44% fewer underweight births in Spartanburg. Because building healthier communities starts by giving people access to the care and services they need to live healthier lives. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Don't know that it has anything to do with COVID and the pandemic, but 2021 sure flew by, didn't it? We're now into the final podcast of the year, the second part of our year in review. This week, like last, you'll hear from 12 of this year's guests and some highlights from those interviews. My name is Todd Hancock. Appreciate you being there for the ride. If you like what you're about to hear, please tell your friends about us. Word of mouth helps big time. And we see it daily on social media, so thank you so much for that. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and we're on YouTube. We also get somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 visits at toddhancock.ca, which blows our mind. You can get the podcast there. I write music and entertainment news, blogs or articles, whatever you want to call them. It's got my voiceover demos, our Twitter feed. There's always a lot going on there. Okay, so let's get into some guest highlights, and we'll start with a handful of this year's musical guests, all of whom are brought to you by Pineapple Sound, a recording and mixing studio in Langley since 2013. Bands, check them out. They do great work. They give great rates, have become pretty good buddies with Dave and Tyler since jumping on since last November. They've been with the podcast now for over a year. Pineapple Sound, big love. They do great things. They also welcome podcasts, voiceover actors, anything you can do in a studio. So pineapplesound.com is your go-to there. We took a good chunk of this summer off, hanging out with family, went to Tofino, built sandcastles, got drunk on the beach kind of thing. And we didn't pick things up again until late August, which was around the time that Danko Jones made his second appearance on the podcast. Of course, you'll know Danko from any good rock radio station. They've been playing his music since the late 90s. His new album called Rock Trio was released around the time that we had him on. A short time after that, Buck Cherry singer Josh Todd was a guest. You'll know them from big radio hits, Lit Up, Crazy Bitch, Sorry. They just released their latest album, Hellbound, at the start of the summer in late June. And during our conversation, Josh talked about how he became a certified phlebotomist during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love learning new things, and don't ask me why I got really interested in that. I mean, when I get my blood taken every year, I go to a blood bank because it's just closer to my house, and I just rather do that than have to fast in the morning and go all the way to my doctor's, because my doctor's is a little farther away. So I go to this blood bank called Quest Diagnostics, and I was there one time, and they have the best phlebotomists because they're taking blood literally all day long. So
right.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all, So
no.
This big, tall, tattooed guy came in, and I'm like, oh my God. And he just wrapped me up and took my blood, and I literally didn't even feel it. And I was like, wow, man, you're like the best, phlebotomist I've ever had. I go, how'd you get into this? And I just started talking to him and asking him about his process. And, I was really interested in the whole thing. And so cut to, quarantine, I'm like, I gotta get out of this house. I gotta work. I want to serve my community. How can I do that? And so I searched it up. I found a little phlebotomy school. I went to school for 2 weeks. Did a lot of like after your first day of phlebotomy school, you're already sticking people and they're sticking you, and and none of us are doing it very well at the beginning. So it's like you're coming home with 6-7 sticks in your arms, and it starts becoming, you start looking like a heroin addict when you get home. It was funny, but I mean, and then we started getting really good because we wanted to be successful every time. I think I only missed a vein 1 or 2 times that whole time, and you had to do 50 venipunctures to complete to get certified. And then also I had to take a national exam, and studied really hard for that, and took that. And passed it. And then then you have to do an externship, and I did that, which is 40 hours at a clinic, and I went to this clinic, and I had on scrubs, but I didn't have I didn't have long sleeves underneath it. And they looked at me and they said, "Oh, you got to, you have to cover up your tattoos. You have to leave." And I was like, "Okay." And so I came back and I had, long sleeves. I didn't think they would have a problem with it because I've seen many people in scrubs with tattoos, but so I came back, and then I had to take people's blood in a clinical setting, which was I was nervous. I was nervous because I'd only done my students, and I went in there and I handled it, and then I started getting good at it, and then I worked for 4 months at a COVID clinic down in downtown Los Angeles. And this was after we'd already recorded the whole Hellbound record.
Yep.
So it was done. And then I started working at this COVID clinic, basically to serve my community, pass the time, and to, do more phlebotomy. I really enjoyed it.
Wow. Good for you, man. If you need to know one thing about Zakk Wylde, it's that he's one of the best people to interview. He's always super engaging. He's irreverent, timely, topical. He's funny. He's a funny dude. And when he was a guest, his second appearance on the podcast in early October, his band Black Label Society had just released their latest album, Doom Crew Inc., which is a great record, by the way, if you haven't given it a listen. And when Zakk Zoomed with us, we got him to answer one of the toughest questions you can ask a musician, anybody really for that matter. You're stranded on a deserted island. Which 3 albums do you need with you?
Depends on what mood you're in, right? But I mean,
right.
Let's say, Frank Marino, The Power of Rock and Roll. I guess give me Sabbath, I guess Sabbath, We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll, because that's got 2 of them, right? And best of type thing. And I guess give me a Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John.
Wow. Interesting. Did you just see there was clips on the internet floating around Elton John giving full props to Metallica?
Because I think he just played on, they did a cover record, right? Or something like that.
With Miley Cyrus. Yeah. He was on Stern Show.
Cool.
And it was like, oh yeah, no, Metallica is one of the best bands of all time. Like fucking Hetfield, singer, crying.
Oh, that's awesome. Very good.
Very cool, man.
Totally.
Shortly after Zakk Wylde was a guest, we grabbed our longtime buddy, multiple Juno award-winning producer Brian Howes. He was a guest. You've heard him on a ton of stuff. Daughtry, David Cook, Chris Cornell, Skillet, Puddle of Mud, and that's literally scratching the surface. If you remember a Vancouver band in the 2000s called Closure, he was the singer in that band. After Brian came 311 bass player Peanut. And as a longtime fan of that band, this is a very cool interview. Think about it. You've heard of these guys since the late 80s. We're talking almost 35 years. In that time, 13 studio albums, 2 live albums, 4 compilation albums, 4 EPs, 4 DVDs, 10 million albums sold. And we went deep with Peanut, talking about Marvel and DC and basketball and F1 racing and what was and is the bullshit of COVID. Has it made him and the band rethink the music industry and continuing?
A little bit. I'm sure everyone did their own little kind of mystical journeys through, who am I and what am I doing here and what's the future of this? But yeah, I mean, at least 10 more years. Everyone's kind of turning 50 this year, except for me.
Yeah.
And I'm ageless. And and yeah, I can't really see it going too much further past, as far as the schedule that we're on now. I don't see us really ever stopping. I see taking breaks. I like learning from the Rolling Stones about how, if you say you're retired and you don't retire, it kind of doesn't look that good. Just say you're taking a break. I don't think really any musicians have fully retired unless they physically had to, or just had a total change of heart. I think most of us just need a break, because it's really difficult. And this last tour, these 30 some odd shows that I'm winding down, got one today, got 6 shows left on this tour. It was pretty exhausting. It was physically really difficult because we're only older and we're a little bit out of the routine of doing shows from having a 15-month break, by far the longest break we've ever had in 31 years. So yeah, it was difficult like that, but emotionally it was a lot to carry around because we're all dealing with our own bullshit, and so is everybody else. And the audience, I really feel like they projected that to us, like they trust us with those feelings, and we do the same. It's reciprocative, and it's also a lot to carry on too. So yeah, you're laughing at my pronunciation.
Reciprocal, I think.
Yeah, there you go. I made it IVE. Whatever.
We
I tried to say
we
it
got
yesterday
you.
on Instagram too, and I said it wrong.
We got
But
you.
yeah, it's all about the positive message, and it's all about they support us now. I don't know. Yeah, that's a part of that circle, which is an easier way to say that concept. That we've lifted them up. They've gathered. They're their own community, not with or without us, but it exists outside of what we do. It doesn't really matter what we do. They've got their own thing going on that's 311 centric, and now we're motivated by their positivity and them saying like, don't quit, keep going, we need you. And that means the world. That gets me out of bed in the morning.
And did you catch Enough's Enough frontman Chip's Enough's visit? This wasn't actually very long ago. I remember because I was doing the interview on Zoom right after coming back from trick-or-treating with my kids. So I'm still wearing the onesie giraffe costume. And I mean, you should really see it, I guess, just for that alone on the Toddcast YouTube channel. We've been threatening each other with a good hang. We'll record it, for the better part of a year anyway. And this year, last year too, we'd sort of rolled with the punches and did things as they came around, which now that I'm saying it out loud, I guess it's not really much different than any of the other years. And how crazy is that we're into year 8 in January? I wish that we could get a real-time display of where you're listening from, along with the other people that are listening as well. But wouldn't that be cool to see how long you've been a listener, subscribed, where you're from, where they're from? I think that'd be pretty neat. Anyway, right after Chip, speaking of rolling with the punches, we get an email asking if we wanted to have one of the guys in Bullet for My Valentine as a guest, to which we said, hell yes, we do. They put out their new self-titled album in the beginning of November 5th. You saw bassist Jamie Mathias on Zoom the day before. He's a good dude, great band. The album is straight up. It's punishing, start to finish. It's badass. If you're a fan of the band, you haven't seen the Zoom, again, it's on the Toddcast YouTube. It's good. Jamie's super chill. He's easy to talk to. He had lots to say. You'll love his response to a question that we like asking. Like, don't you love hearing about people's first concerts?
Yeah, so like my dad, he was obviously into his, 80s metal and rock. Do you know what I mean? So in my house when I was growing up, it was like Bon Jovi, Whitesnake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What else was there? Motley Crue. That's my earliest memories of, my introduction to rock.
Yeah.
And and obviously, it's whatever you brought up on, it rubs off on you. You know what I mean? And and I started finding bands like Metallica, Pantera, Slayer. When some go through my teenage years, and I just snowballs from there then.
Right. What's the first concert you went to?
My first concert was actually, my dad took me to Iron Maiden.
Oh, nice.
It was so in Donington here in the UK. And that was a special show.
I bet. Who else was on the bill with that?
I think it was Marilyn Manson was supporting.
Okay.
She was like Download 2003. So yeah, Manson was supporting. Trying to think who else. Ministry were on there.
Wow.
And Deftones. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was the first, my first festival experience as well. So it was good. I think after that show, it was kind of like, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to. This is what I wanted to do,
Musical guests of the Toddcast podcast are powered by Pineapple Sound, providing recording and mixing services for a wide range of artists and genres since 2013. Check them out at pineapplesound.com.
like a metronome. Oh, it's hard to find peace of mind. This happens all the time. Lie awake, begs for days. It's in the games we play that throw me off. It's who you are. This happens every single time. I'm tired of the things you say. I tried but couldn't walk away. Got caught up in your gravity. Keeps getting worse. Keeps getting worse. Call me on the way home. Baby, we could get some. If that's all you wanted, it's never gonna last long. Oh, it's hard to find peace of mind. This happens all the time. Lie awake, begs for days. It's in the games we play that throw me off. It's who you are. This happens every single time. I'm tired of the things you say. I tried but couldn't walk away. Got caught up in your gravity. Keeps getting worse. Keeps getting worse. Get the fuck up, it's getting worse. Keeps getting worse. Keeps getting worse. Keeps getting worse. Sha-pa-pa. I'm tired of the things you say. I tried but couldn't walk away. Got caught up in your gravity. Keeps getting worse. Keeps getting worse. I'm tired of the things you say. I tried but couldn't walk away. Got caught up in your gravity. Keeps getting worse. 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 Keeps getting worse.
Red Truck Beer. Nothing delivers like a red truck. Official beer of the Toddcast podcast. And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
You've heard Todd Kearns' music in some form or another since the late 80s, starting with The Age of Electric, then into Static and Stereo, of course his solo stuff, Sin City Sinners. He's also part of the driving force in Slash, featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. He's the bass player in that band. And he's one of the nicest, funniest, best storytellers in rock and roll, hands down, and you will not see a harder worker. Beyond the bands we just mentioned, he also does the Kiss Cruise, Decades at Sea, as part of Bruce Kulick's band. He also has a weekly podcast, which is slammed with a virtual who's who of the music world. A couple years ago, Todd Kearns got a star on BC's Walk of Fame on Granville Street in Vancouver. Well deserved. You can see him in an indie film called The Whiskey Man and the Rider. He's launched his own clothing line called Damn It Wear Anti-Star Designs. As they say, no rest for the wicked. And the last time that Todd was a guest, he's been on 4 times now, we talked about touring Brazil with Slash. He shared some thoughts on Marvel's Endgame and the finale of Game of Thrones. The Ramones, Kiss, GNR, they all came up. So did Aliens, Soulmates, Legalized Marijuana, Gary Clark Jr. And stop me if you've heard this before. We made Todd pick between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Here's where I always land on this, and people always kind of, what? I always land on Star Trek, and I'll tell you why. Here we go. Ready?
Okay.
The funny thing is, when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, I was always taken by the fact, and this is weird to consider now that I realize, how much I was thinking about it, was the fact that, and I think it speaks volumes even more now, is the fact that I couldn't have put into words exactly what I was thinking, but now when you watch Star Trek, go back and watch original series in 1966 or whatever you want to watch. There's a black woman who was an officer on the bridge. There's a Russian there. There's a Japanese guy. There's, all these different people. There's an alien guy there, and they're all working together. They're all officers. And in 1966, most of this would have been like ludicrous. You know what I mean? Like the idea of all these different people like working together. You know what I mean? Kind of making a thing happen. But I think I sort of took that and I thought to myself, so in the 24th century, or whichever century they were kind of, projecting towards, that all the problems that we are, and let's be honest, currently dealing with, will all be dealt with, we'll all be cool, we'll all be hanging out, and we'll all be working together. And I think that's interesting to me, because the cool thing about Star Wars is it's a fascinating fantasy type thing. It's the most fun in the world. Like, I have dedicated so many hours of my life to Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is, when I take the step back, I look at Star Trek and I go, this is what we could be. This is what Gene Roddenberry was trying to say, like, we as human beings could be this, Captain Kirk is from Idaho or Ohio, I can't remember exactly. He's a guy and then when you watch Star Wars, I go, that's where the connection kind of gets lost for me. It's a fantasy thing, but I don't know. We're not those people. You know what I mean? Like, we're not Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. They're from Tatooine and
we don't have the Force.
System,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. But these people on the Enterprise are all people from wherever. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where. And I know that that's a long, nerdy conversation to have with people. And I've had this, and it gets loud. And I'm like, dude, why are we, I always think it's really hilarious that we're like, people can get heated about something as ridiculous as science fiction. But it's also part of the fun of being a human being. But like what I say is there's a hopefulness about these things, about the future and being able to kind of come together. And, the planet Earth one day will be, that in the future, Paris is the capital of Earth, on Star Trek. That's a fascinating thing to consider, that we have to have a capital on our planet to represent, the planet is an interesting thing to me.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Puff, purveyors of quality cannabis accessories since 1995. Use promo code TODCAST and get 20% off regularly priced accessories and apparel in-store and online at puffpipes.ca.
I got to say, I kind of feel lucky that I found those guys when I did. I love that band. If you're hearing the song going like, I know that singer, I know that guy, you sure do. It's Matt Wood, the drummer-singer of Pride Tiger, and his quasi-new project called Good As Gone. And a cool song for those guys called Tall in the Saddle. And I say this quasi-new because prior to COVID, which is sneaking up now on 2 years coming this March, prior to COVID, we'd worked out a live podcast show with Matt. For the life of me, I can't remember the other bands that were on the bill, but yeah, that one was on the books, and then it was not so much. And we'll get those live podcast shows dialed up again in the new year. If it's not like the Hollywood Theater, we were talking last week about how we're loving what David Hawkes is doing down there. Probably Guilt and Company, something like that. Maybe it's the Roxy again. I'm not really sure to be honest, but we will get something dialed up again. You heard Nicholas Rage and their awesome song called Gravity, and they're the lone non-Vancouver band this week. Take a bow, boys. They are from Edmonton, Alberta, yet another pre-COVID band that we were talking to about getting them, to play here in Vancouver for us. Just a deadly band. Their other stuff has been super catchy as well. I cannot wait to see these guys live. All right, coming up in just a few minutes listen to this. Multiple Juno Award winner Corey Hart talking about the changes to the music industry and moving with the times. Well said. That is powered by our buddies at Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service and repairs, ICBC accredited. Check, check, check. You can find them on Facebook. They're also on Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's get back to more guest highlights in our Part 2 year in review and some sporting guests powered by our friends at Capit Chilliwack, providing the best quality products and services for you and your truck. We're talking tules, tonneau covers. They have these rooftop tents that are incredible, insane. You need them. Camping chairs. I will be buying a few for Tofino next year. Step bars and floor liners. It's high quality aftermarket vehicle accessories. Online, facebook.com/Chilliwack Capit. I think I told you this last time, right up until the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Racewalker Evan Dunphy's Twitter, his bio said something like non-medal Olympian or something to that effect. Now it says world champion medalist, Olympic medalist, and he's local. He's a Richmond boy. And to get ready for the Olympics ready, he would walk from Richmond into Vancouver, tool around Stanley Park, and come back. Imagine doing that even just once. Check out how close his event was at the Olympics. He placed third, got the bronze, but he almost didn't get that.
Yeah. So the nice thing is we compete on a 2 kilometer loop. So unlike the marathon where you kind of just, you go off, you run for 42K and you start somewhere and you finish somewhere, we just do 25 laps around a 2 kilometer loop. So you can always see where your competitors are and have that sense of how the race is unfolding. So that's helpful, but certainly going into that final lap with 2K to go, I think I was 18 seconds back of third place. And I was actually sitting in 5th place at that point. I was, still had a couple of guys to get ahead of. And it was funny because the guy that finished and was just ahead of me was the guy that beat me at World Champs a couple of years ago by 2 seconds. Oh, okay. So my first thought was, okay, I can't use to Yao again by 2 seconds, get past him. And so I put my head down and I sort of, was managed to get past him. And then I was like, oh crap, I'm in 4th again. Oh, come on. I mean, you can't finish 4th again. So it's kind of like, it was that weird self-talk that was kind of like very me of like, it was kind of, self-deprecating, but still incredibly motivating to kind of like, oh, okay, no, I can't do this again. All right. Refocus, put your head down and figure this out. And yeah, I didn't pass the 3rd place athlete until about 200 meters to go.
Right there, dude. Yeah. I'm watching it on the TV as it's unfolding. Like, so how far, when you're like, okay, I got to pass buddy, I'm not going in 4th again. Like just visually explain like how far away he was from you at that point where you're like, I gotta catch this guy.
Yeah. So coming towards the last maybe 800, 900 meters was kind of, I'd been asking my body for a little bit more for many kilometers at that point. I was kind of on the edge with my hamstring was kind of cramping, and I just kept asking my body for just, give me a little bit more. And wasn't. It was sort of saying, nope, this is your limit. This is your limit. And with like 800 meters to go, finally, you know, whatever it was, I was really just thinking back to all my friends and family at home who were walking every step of the way with me. And whatever it was in that moment just gave me that next extra gear when my body just said, okay, go. And so from there, it was never really even, I don't remember what was going through my head. I just remember sort of seeing the athlete from Spain come around the top bend and thinking, oh, I can catch him. Like he's not that far ahead, and coming around that top bend and just booking it for the finish line. And remembering, the one thing I remember is how close the finish line looked at that point. And I was like, oh, do I have enough room? Am I going to be able to make this? And then once I got by, I'm thinking, oh, good, that finish line's really far away still. It was, you know, that foreshortening effect looking down straight at it. I thought it was way closer than it was. And once I actually moved into to third, I remember thinking, oh, I still have like 200 meters left. Like I have plenty of space.
Right. And meanwhile, the people ahead in 1 and 2, they're like right close too. So you pretty much watched those guys walk through to gold and silver, right?
Yeah, the whole race. I mean, it's amazing how a 3 hour and 50-minute race can come down to
seconds,
you know, less than a second per kilometer. It's insane. The guy that won the race at one point had like a 3-minute lead. And he saw that evaporate down to about 30 seconds, 40 seconds in the end. So, wow. That's what I love about the 50K event is that it's really not over until it's over. So much can happen. And you can think that you're doing fine, and a kilometer later, your body can be completely shutting down on you. So it keeps it exciting.
Growing up in the Lower Mainland as a kid, it was all about the Whitecaps, the Canucks, the Lions, you know, driving into the city, seeing the teams play. So it was awesome to grab Lions quarterback Michael Riley to be a guest around mid-September, even though you know now how crummy a year they had. Regardless, as a fan, I'm always down to talk with the local sports teams, and Michael Riley is a beauty. Listen to this Grey Cup story that he shared.
Whew, man, again, most of those can't be repeated, but I will say this. So one of my good buddies of mine that I played a lot of football with, very large man with a very large beard. You know, we spent that whole year together eating on the road and everything like that, going, you know, getting keg steaks the night before the game and stuff like that. So we win the cup in Winnipeg, and we go back to Edmonton a day or two. You know, the next morning we're there for 4 or 5 days. I had to leave. I probably would have died. I was having too much fun. I needed to get back home. But
right.
we had we didn't do like a parade. We did like a big whatever you want to call it, massive gathering at the square downtown. And so they had us meet at the stadium. And they had all the buses sitting there waiting for us to take us to the party, whatever you want to call it. And so I walk into the locker room, and I had grown a beard out too. And my buddy's staring at me, and he is clean shaven, and he looks like a totally different man. And he points at me, and he was like, "I told you when we got back, no beards allowed." And I was like, "I don't know what you want me to do about that." And he just grabbed me, marched me into the bathroom, handed me a razor, an electric razor. And and he towers above me, he's standing behind me, staring at me in the mirror. And as I'm shaving my beard off, he's got a bottle of Fireball, and he's hooked it underneath my arm and is pouring it down my throat. And so I stayed nice and warm during that festivities, but it was definitely forced upon me by a much larger man. So that was
yes.
Time.
Right after Michael Riley was a guest, we reached out to pro wrestler Ray Lynn to see if she wanted to come on as a guest. And knowing that she was a big fan of Zach Wilde, we pitched it like this. Hey, want to be a guest of the podcast the same week as Zach Wilde? Of course, she said, yeah. You've seen her in WWE Raw, Women of Wrestling, American Pro Wrestling. And we talked to her about how she got into wrestling.
So my story is a little different than other people's. It's kind of sad, but it ends up being a happy thing, right? So when I was 23, I was cutting hair and bartending, and I just wasn't making ends meet. And I partied like really hard all the time. I was always partying. I was just the wild child of the group.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what you do whenever you're that age.
Yeah.
But unexpectedly, my father passed away. He killed himself. So that was like a really heavy thing for me to go through. I took a week off of work, and whenever I went back to work, it was a Monday. and it was a bartending night, and the guys had wrestling on television. And this is like my first day back at work, and I was just so drawn to the TV at that moment. And I'm like watching wrestling, and the next week I was watching wrestling, and the week after that I was watching wrestling. And it was just something that kind of helped me cope during that time. And I thought to myself, well, why can't I do this? I can totally do this.
Shortly after wrestler Ray Lynn was a guest, the owner, the editor of the BCHL network, who's also the GM of the Port Moody Panthers, Brian Weeb, jumped on a Zoom with us. Next up was retired NHL center Dave Scatchard, 14 years in the Bigs, playing, of course, with the Canucks, but played with the Islanders as well, Bruins, Coyotes, Predators, the Blues. He was doing press for his best-selling book at the time, The Comeback, My Journey Through Heaven and Hell, and that's a great read if you're a fan of hockey, a real eye-opener. He's a truly inspirational story. And when Dave was a guest, he shared some career highlights, most notably one particular season playing with the New York Islanders. This is great.
It's all in the book, guys. You gotta read the
Grab
book.
that book.
Let's see. I had 2 hat tricks in like 2 weeks or something like that. They're on my wall over there. And that was pretty special. One was against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Vinny Lecalvier, Marty St. Louis. And then the other one was against Mario and Jagger. And like I only played like 12 minutes in one game and 13 minutes in another game. That's no power play or anything. Like that was the year I scored 27. I was up for, I don't know if I won player of the week or player of the month. I was up for the running of player of the month in the NHL, which for a guy like me, that's pretty special because I wasn't a regular occurrence and I didn't really get a ton of ice time. So those 2 hat tricks were like amazing. And that year was amazing with 27 goals. And I love my line with Jason Weimer and Jason Blake. We were just on fire. I think I put in the book that I think after November, we scored the most goals as a third line in the whole league. Blakey had a great year. Weems had a career year. I had my career year. And we were, I don't want to say unstoppable, but we dominated. Like it wasn't even close.
And after Dave Scatchard was retired WWE wrestler Robbie McAllister of the Highlanders. He jumped on a quick Zoom with us as well. Now, you'll remember him from WWE Raw back in the early 2000s. Tag team matches. Eventually, he turned to be a bad guy. Last televised match was in 2008. And what a great way to book this guy. Do you remember Chris Calhoun from Z95 radio here in Vancouver? Robbie, whose real name is Derek, is brothers with Chris. So Chris dialed up this interview. I mean, you got to love when things fall in your lap.
Toddcast sporting guest visits are powered by Cap at Chilliwack, providing the best quality products and services for you and your truck. Online at facebook.com/ChilliwackCapit.
Restless heart, don't fall apart. You've been hanging by a thread, woven seams in your head. It's a long time coming, baby, and I see you running, maybe. It's a long time coming, baby boy, baby boy. You're innocent, and I know that you've been hanging by a thread on the things that I've said. It's a long time coming, baby, and I see you running, maybe. It's a long time coming, baby boy, baby boy. We must begin to grow from within, to build up from the start, or we'll all fall apart. It's a long time believe, baby boy. It's a long time coming, baby. Gonna see you running, maybe. It's a long time coming, baby boy. Baby boy. Baby boy. Baby boy. Yeah.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca. And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
If you grew up in Canada in the 80s, there's virtually no chance that you would not know the music of Corey Hart. 2019 inductee into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. You'll know his stuff. He's had tons of hits. Sunglasses at Night, Never Surrender, Boy in the Box, and it goes on. 16 million albums sold worldwide, 9 US Billboard Top 40 hits, 30 top 40 hits in Canada. Nominated for the Best New Artist Grammy Award in 1984, is a multiple Juno Award winner, and he's a super good guy as well. Very personable, engaged in the conversation when we talked, and we really got into it with Corey. The shows that he was binge watching at the time, he recommends Future Man, if you haven't seen that. How the Police were a big band in his world as a kid. He talked about Rod Stewart, Sarah McLachlan, Billy Joel, Kenny Arnoff. We touched on alien visitation, how he almost died in Spain. We got into superpowers, and Corey talked about today's music industry and playing by the rules. Listen to this.
I think that music today is you got to play by the rules that that are out there, and there's a lot of advantages that artists have today that I didn't have back in the 80s. At social media, for example. You mentioned Good Rocking Tonight. The only opportunity that I had to speak to my Canadian fans is if Terry David Mulligan was gracious enough to give me 30 or 40 seconds to say something to my fans. Now an artist can pick up his iPhone and write a message to his fans, unfettered, unedited,
right.
And it can reach every fan from every corner of the world. So there's a great benefit to that. I think that the fact that nobody can buy records anymore and that they don't buy records anymore, which is, I guess, raised the prices of ticket concerts. I think that's sad. I think there was always, I remember as a kid, we were talking about that, just, going down and buying my 45s. I loved that feeling of holding it in my hand. So I think the new generation are missing out on that experience, but, you got to move with the times.
Listen to this on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC approved repair shop. Find them online at tedcorvsuppliesinc.com.
Revolution.
without question, they are at the forefront of Vancouver's hard rock scene. Crankshaft, and their song is Innocence. And if you're a betting man, a betting person, put money on hearing new stuff out of those guys in 2022. And remember that Shane, their singer, is also doing that country rock project that we've been playing recently called The Reverend and the Rebel. Lots of stuff brewing right now in our scene. Coming out of the pandemic, bands are ready with new material. Musicians are itching to start up some new bands. Watch for all that stuff. It's coming. You heard Wild Dove, and that's their song Baby Boy. And that's Devin, by the way, from Echo, Nebraska, which we've played a ton on this podcast. Something that he started prior to COVID. Echo, Nebraska played a podcast show. Maybe actually they played two, come to think of it. But for whatever reason, they called it a day and Devin continued on. He's a great guy. He's an amazing voice. He makes it look effortless live. Speaking of live music, the live scene, find a list of local bands that are playing in Vancouver and the area with the indie scene at toddhancock.ca. Slowly but surely, the scene is coming back around. If you're playing a show or maybe going to check one out, if it's indie, let us know about it. We'll post it at the website. That is brought to you by Mystic Rhythms Rehearsal Studios. 40 plus years experience in the music industry. Great jam spaces, reasonable rates, good people as well. They've been sponsoring the podcast now for, I think it's probably coming up on 3 or maybe 4 years now. One of the reasons why we're able to continue to soldier on. Find out more about them through mysticrihythms.ca.
Nude Vodka Soda powers the Toddcast podcast. Sugar and sweetener free with just 100 calories and 0 carbs per serving. Visit them online at nudebeverages.com.
And you just got to love that Nude Vodka Soda gives a percentage of all sales to local SPCAs across North America. Keep that in mind when you're stocking up for that big New Year's party. Okay, our final guests of this Year in Review podcast, episode 263, are a handful of this year's entertainment guests, all of whom have been brought to you by Sacred Meds, the best craft cannabis and psilocybin dispensary in Canada, hands down. There's hash, edibles, bath bombs, teas, tinctures, and so much more. Remember to use the code TODCAST at checkout and get 10% off your entire order. Find them online at sacredmeds.com. Did you catch holistic health coach Irene J's visit? She is great. We've known each other for years. I've been meaning to grab her to be a guest for a while now. Check out her website, irenej.com, where you'll see that she really boils it down to a 3-step process for you to have a healthy relationship with your body. 1, awareness. It seems simple. Listen to your body. It's kind of telling you things as you're going along. 2, strategies. There's a game plan. 3, what do you think you do? You execute the integration. You execute the game plan. You stick with it. And that's the tough part, is the stick with it stuff. And like we do with most guests, we got into it with Irene. Eventually, we're talking about Britney Spears and the mess of having her dad taking care of her money and not being able to access it. What a clusterfuck.
Everyone was just chalking her up to be absolutely nuts, but man, I feel bad for her. Like,
how could you not feel bad for her?
Just like she's just like an entertainment mule.
It's terrible, right? Like when you actually get into that story and the hashtag Free Britney, like if you haven't searched it out, people that are listening to this podcast, like go search out. I mean, now it's a bit of an older hashtag, but I'm sure you could still find stuff. Hashtag Free Britney is fucking eye-opening.
It's insane. I know. It's fucked up. It's actually really disgusting and quite telling of what that industry must have in their dark corners.
Right after Irene was a guest, we grabbed our longtime friend Steve Stebbing to be a guest. And Steve's actually one of the main reasons this podcast even exists. Now, back when I was doing C Fox's afternoon show, 3 to 7, Monday to Friday, he invited me to be a guest on his podcast a few times. Every time, of course, I said, sure. And it really opened up my eyes to broadcasting and beyond the conventional methods and terrestrial radio and that, right? You can hear Steve as a national film critic for The Shift with Shane Hewitt across the Global News Radio Network. I'm super proud of where Steve's taken things. In early October, after Steve was a guest, we had on author podcaster Paul Myers. If you're not familiar with the Record Store Day podcast, that's Paul's brainchild, and he does a fantastic job with that. And yes, Paul is brothers with actor Mike Myers, and he talks about being a body double for Mike in an upcoming series, which you can hear and see, I guess, depending on where you're accessing the full interview. We talked about keeping busy. You won't believe the things he's currently working on, or at least a couple of months ago that he was working on.
Lately, an average day is I have 3 projects on the go, and depending on which one needs my attention, I will try to make I don't know if you can see this, but this is a list of things I have to do today.
Yes.
And my wife is a professional organizer. And so she's really good at teaching me systems, because my brain is such, you've even heard this in this conversation, my brain is such that it will go 18 different directions if I don't have a what I call a roadmap.
I'm the same thing.
Yeah. So for instance, I am working on a book about John Candy that won't be out for at least a year.
Cool.
So I'm still doing interviews for it, and I interviewed Catherine O'Hara and Joe Flaherty, and I'm trying to get Eugene Levy, and they're putting the dates, or he got popular this year, so it's really hard to corral him. But I have different interviews in the can already for different people for that. I'm also working on a documentary as an executive producer. It's based on my one of my books. And I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but I'm working on a documentary that's supposed to be out next year with Amazon. And that's the first time I've been an executive producer on anything. And I had something to do with blocking out the story as well. And then I'm also doing the podcast every 2 weeks. Right. So that means booking people, because I pretty much do all the booking and recording of interviews from here, from this little home. They've set me up with a couple of nice things, including this SM7B microphone that I'm speaking into.
It's quite nice.
Oh yeah, and I got them to get me a boom microphone, because I found myself, I used to have the mic over on the side, and I'd be like, out. You know, it's so during the whole COVID. I mean, the thing is, pre-COVID, I was still doing this Zoomy interview stuff, because I live in a place that's not LA and not New York and not Toronto and not Vancouver.
If you know me at all, you know that I love the broadcasting industry. I was an on-air personality in BC for almost 20 years, 15 in Vancouver. We're coming up to the start of year 8 with this podcast. I'm an instructor for the Radio Arts and Entertainment course at BCIT. I guess you could say I have some fingers in the pie. So when we had the chance to get MJ from the syndicated Casey Clark show, of course, we jumped at the chance, and wouldn't you know it, she and I had the same first radio job in the same city, same shift. Like, what? Isn't that crazy? Getting into early November, actress Kelly Dowdle was a guest. You'll know her best from her work on Billions. She was in American Crime Story, Lucifer. And during the pandemic, during the downtime, it let her focus on another one of her passions, making music. She's now releasing music under the name Kelly Monroe.
Yeah, it's been nuts. You know, but I got to be honest, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I have to think, you know, talking about that dark and light thing, right? It's like we go through life so fast, and you get in such a routine that I think COVID really made all of us not only stop and slow down, but look at all the skeletons, all the nooks and crannies, all the dark, all the places that we've been hiding and limiting ourselves. And music was that for me. It was like tucked away deep down in here, back behind this thing and this, you know, like little chamber of my heart, just in the depth of my soul, just hiding down in there. And, you know, I've always like dreamed of being on stage and singing, but I've just never, I guess it's always just been kind of like, I don't know, it's just a childhood afterthought, but somehow film and TV was always like tangible. And the only thing I can break it down to is like, I think I just kind of always correlated singing to like the deepest part of my soul, like being seen, you know, like vulnerability, where TV, like TV and film is like you're playing a role, you know, it's not really you. So, so to answer your question, I mean, I was single during COVID. I still am single again, if anyone's wondering. I had no dog. Yeah. I had no partner, no dog, no kids, nothing. Right. And so when this hit, it was like, at first I was kind of like, well, this shit's going to pass, you know, whatever. And then it got really serious. And I think it really forced me to look at all, I mean, to put it bluntly, all the places that I've been hiding, you know, and like not really showing up for myself in the best way possible. And that big wake up call was singing for me. And I was like, you know what? On the other side of this, I am going to do everything I can to give myself the opportunity to be seen this way and share my voice with the world. Because really it's about the lyrics. I love, just being a lyricist and writing. And I really think, the most powerful way to send a message to the world is through music,
Shortly after Kelly was a guest, September 21's Penthouse Pet of the Month, Carolina White, agreed to come on the podcast. And she's been modeling since her teens, but it wasn't until recently that she decided, sure, why not? I'll pose naked. Of course, we talked about modeling, how OnlyFans has really changed the game. And we got into how she's a huge fan of Marvel, especially Captain America and the Avengers.
I think anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Marvel fan.
Oh, you are?
Oh God, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like, I think that anybody that actually like knows me, even as this character, like knows that I'm obsessed with like Captain America and like just the Avengers in general. So yeah, that's after Endgame though, I haven't really followed the storyline. I haven't really gotten into the whole like Disney Plus Falcon and Winter Soldier, Black Widow. Like I haven't really ventured
it's just
into that.
too many to keep up. I mean, even me as a comic book spaz, like when I was a little kid, I just monopolized my time, and there's just too much to keep up now.
It really is. I think they're trying to,
well, they're doing the same thing. They're striking while the iron's hot, right? Like,
yeah, no, totally. I get that. But for me, after Endgame, Avengers Endgame, I was just like, there's nothing more you can add to that or do to that that's going to make that. They wrapped it up in a perfect little bow and like sent it on their way. And I thought it was beautifully done and it was perfect. So from there, I was kind of like, I'm satisfied. I don't really need to, I don't need anything else. And then they killed Chris Evans. So I'm just like, or they didn't kill him, but I'm like, now I'm done.
Toddcast Podcast entertainment guest visits are powered by Sacred Meds, the best craft cannabis and psilocybin dispensary in Canada. Available online at sacredmeds.com. Use promo code TODCAST at checkout for 10% off everything in store.
Silence. Shipwreck, there wasn't much skin left to cover my bones. I feel the eyes of the beachhead watch me try to put some air in my lungs. And I heard the sirens sung in the distance, but I forgot to run. The smile I'm trying to distinguish would drag me under.
know that bands like that exist in Vancouver, yet they get no play on our rock stations? Radio has got a lot of growth potential. One would be supporting your local bands as they support you. That band is Arlo Wells, and a great song for them called Siren, another band that we would love to get a live podcast show in the books with. Once we get things rolling again, there's so many bands that we had ready actually pre-COVID that we'll get things sorted out again in the new year.
Your best way to hit the slopes this winter is with the Cypress Mountain Sky Card. Visit cypressmountain.com for details.
I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. The Year in Review Part 2 is done. Episode 263. My name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for being there, for listening. Again, if you like what you heard, please tell your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. We're also on YouTube. The full-length video interviews are posted there. And remember to comment and rate the podcast. That is big. It helps out with the search results. You can find us on all platforms at Toddcast Podcast. A massive thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors for another big year. We simply couldn't do it without their support. There's a lot of moving parts with this podcast, and their support means everything to us. You can find links to all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast with your business, you can for as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage, and maybe we'll talk soon. And remember, help us find a new sponsor, and we'll give you a commission based on the initial ad buy. If you know a business that makes sense, or maybe you're running a business, you'd like to give it a try, shoot them our way, and we'll take it from there. Till the next time, have a fun and a safe New Year's party. Don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
The Toddcast Podcast. Keep in touch with Todd through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and bookmark toddhancock.ca.
For 8 years, we've been asking the same question over and over again. How did this happen? My name's Mandy.
And I'm Melissa, and we're the hosts of Moms and Mysteries, the true crime podcast with over 55 million downloads.
We're two Florida moms who are obsessed with mysteries. Each week, we do deep dives into fascinating true crime stories.
We cover everything from infamous cases like Casey Anthony
to the bizarre and complex crimes right here in our home state, like the shocking murder of FSU professor Dan Markell.
We bring you the facts, but with warmth and wit you'd only get from two friends who have been hooked on mysteries since childhood.
Join us for new episodes of Moms and Mysteries every Tuesday and Thursday.
Listen to Moms and Mysteries on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
Reality TV is messy. Pop culture is louder than ever. And the internet completely unhinged. Welcome to Roxanne and Chantel, the podcast where cousins Roxanne and Chantel break down reality TV, celebrity drama, and the stories everyone's texting about. We recap the shows, spill the headlines, and sit down with the stars themselves. No filter, no boring takes, just the tea. New episodes every week. If it's trending, we're talking about it. This is Roxanne and Chantel. Let's get into it.
Oh, please, not that music. That music gives me nightmares from my childhood.
Could we get something a little bit lighter, some lighter music here?
Are you a fan of true crime TV shows?
And what about Unsolved Mysteries, the show that jump-started all of our love of true crime?
I'm Ellen Marsh.
And I'm Joey Taranto.
And we host I Think Not, a true crime comedy podcast covering some of the wildest stories from your favorite true crime campy TV shows all the way to Unsolved Mysteries.
Baby, you will laugh, you will cry, you'll think about true crime in a whole new way, and you'll also ask yourself, who gave these people mics?
New episodes of I Think Not are released every Wednesday with bonus episodes out every Thursday on Patreon.
And every Monday, you can listen to our True Crime Rundown, where we go over the top true crime headlines of the week.
So come and join us wherever you listen to your podcasts.